with what you got. No sense worrying about what's not. You already have what you need. Underneath your fingertips, you see everything you need to succeed. You can get true satisfaction if you just put your dream in action. The second and the third step are the smartest. It's that darn first step. It's the hardest. You gotta start with what you got. There's no sense worrying about what's not. You already have what you need. Underneath your fingertips, you see everything you need to succeed. With what you got. No sense worrying about what's not, 'cause you already have what you need. Underneath your fingertips, you see everything you need to succeed. Though the journey's hard, you just can't wait. You fall 7 times, just stand up. Ay, ay.
It's like, that's why all the Seahawks fans wear the number 12. It's like, because this is all part of the experience. Like, you are just as important to everybody up here, because look at them shine, right? Woo! Yeah. And I wonder, I feel like I belong here. I feel like I'm welcome. I feel like I can be who I am. But there was a time, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but have you ever been in a room and felt all alone? Like been in a room filled with people, but been completely alone? I had that experience. I used to not fully know who I was, but, and I grew up as a Girl Scout. I loved Girl Scouts. I was Daisy all the way up to senior Girl Scouts. And I love nature. I love learning about new things. I loved, like changing the oil in my own car and, following animals around and figuring out which animal left what scat and, what trails, and I loved building fires and a little too much, but I'm still really good at it. So need any help building a fire, I can help you out. And when I think it was like 17, I was in with my senior Girl Scout troop, and we went on a trip to Ruidoso. I lived in New Mexico at the time. So Ruidoso, New Mexico, gorgeous place up in the mountains. We got this cabin for our whole Girl Scout troop. And it was cool because we kind of were doing this winter camping thing. But, we had a cabin that was heated. It's not like we were roughing it too much. And there was like this lake that if it froze over, we could go potentially ice skating. Like they rented out ice skates. And I was really looking forward to that. And so I'm like talking to my friends, and they were all really into romance novels. Like they went to the cabin, and all they wanted to do was read their romance novels. Now, we were teenagers. You get it, right? It's like the sexy stuff is in the romance novels. But I didn't feel like I wanted to do that. I was like, we went into this beautiful, gorgeous place, and I felt all alone. I didn't feel like I was a part of that troop anymore. And part of it is I didn't quite get it until a couple of years later. I actually am gay, so I never went boy crazy like all the girls did. And it took me a while to figure it out. But, so I was in that place, and if I had known then what I know now, I probably would have had an opportunity to speak to it. I could have talked about why did I feel alone whenever I was amongst my friends. What was it that made me feel that way? And if I had talked to them and told them more about who I am, maybe I would have been embraced and accepted. But I didn't even know me that well. So this month, we're exploring freedom. We're talking about freedom. Every week has been a different aspect of freedom. I chose the aspect of freedom in community. Like, how can we be free while we're in a community? How can we be a place of belonging? And that's really what I wanted to focus on, because there's those people who feel that way in the midst of a group of people. And so the first thing I want to recommend to you is know yourself. Like, if I had really known myself, I might have been able to reach out to other people in a new way. But I didn't fully know myself. And the way that you get to know yourself is to know your connection with Spirit. That's how you get to know yourself. As a matter of fact, Ernest Holmes, who is he's the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, and he wrote this thing in the book, this thing called life. He said, all life, all health, all peace, and all possibility exist in this power that is life itself. It is the knowledge of this and the conscious use of this knowledge which will give us freedom. Our loneliness, our sense of isolation, our poverty, doubt, and our sickness are all results of being disconnected from the fullness of this divine self. See, we're all connected to Spirit, to Source, to whatever you call it. I don't even care what you call it. I like to call it God, but that's a trigger word for some people. Some people might just say life. Some people might say the quantum field. Some people might just say energy or love. Others may say Buddha or Allah, Krishna. It doesn't matter what you call it. There's one thing that is the all in all. And we're a part of it. We're kind of like organs in the body of this being. And each organ is distinct and has its own, function and purpose and use. And all of our organs are different. But they're all essential and a part of this nature. And so how do we tap into that? How do we tune into that? We do spiritual practice to rediscover or just discover who we truly are. And that's what I recommend for you, is always have a daily source of connection with that infinite spirit. Ernest Holmes wrote in Your Invisible Power, he said, "You have a friend within you that's closer than your shadow." I was thinking of Peter Pan. Peter Pan left his shadow. It's but you have a friend within you that's closer than your shadow. In the Bible, they say it's closer than your breathing, nearer than your hands and feet. And Ernest Holmes says, this friend is the great creator of your own soul. It is the animating presence projecting your personality, which is a unique individualization of the living spirit. The friend within you is continuously looking after your well-being. It always wishes you to be happy, to be well, to be radiant. It is the very fountain of your life. This friend is a luminous presence, ever more emerging from pure spirit, ever more expanding your consciousness. It is the high counselor. It is the eternal guide, and it is always present within. So what I want you to do is put your hand over your heart. And you're going to say this with me, but I'm going to say it first. You're going to say, I belong here, I belong in God. And we're going to say this together 3 times, okay? I belong here, I belong in God. I belong here, I belong in God. I belong here, I belong in God. So the way that you reconnect with God is you could just do that simple action every day. Or you can use the practices that we teach here. You can pray, you can meditate. You could love the infinite one through your senses. You could discover it through song, through dance. You could discover it through going outside and smelling the lavender. You can do a daily ritual to connect with that source. Whatever the ritual is for you. It could just be saying namaste to yourself in the mirror. And namaste, if you don't know what that means, it means the God in me acknowledges the God in you. The goddess in me acknowledges the goddess in you. The divine in me sees the divine in you. And you could just say that to yourself. So the second thing that I recommend that we do is that we create belonging together. We do this together because I can't be in community alone. I just can't. If it was just me up here and nobody out there, I am not in community. It doesn't take one to be community. It takes all of us to be united in our agreements with each other and that we choose to create something together. And we choose to create a community where everyone belongs. Yes, yes, yes. I read a quote from the Louis Gallardo, who is the founder and president at World Happiness Foundation. Who knew they had that? I know, I'm like, And he says, when we unlock the power of belonging, we reach the ultimate form of freedom. Freedom from having to change to be accepted and being appreciated and respected for being just who we are. See, the innate need to connect and belong somewhere is as old as humanity itself. We all need this. Community is essential to our beingness. We need it because we need a place to express ourselves, and we also need a place to witness other people expressing themselves. We need a place to serve, and we need a place to be served as well. There was a recent study by AARP that found 1 in 3 Americans are lonely. So if you just look around this room, a third of you were probably lonely this week. A third. That's a lot of people. And you probably came here to be a place where you're not alone. And the interesting thing is a lot of people think, oh, this is a spectator sport, so I'm just going to come and listen and go home. But community is not a spectator sport, you know? Yeah. It's a place where we co-create with each other, where we all participate in it. So after service, it's an opportunity to actually be the thing that we're seeking, is to go and be with each other. It's really interesting because Brene Brown is talking about how it's important that we all are able to be different and be in community together. Like, our differences are important. They're valuable. And she says that when a group or community doesn't tolerate dissent and disagreement, it forgoes any experience of inextricable connection. There's no true belonging, only an unspoken treaty to hate the same people. This fuels our spiritual crisis of disconnection. So we need to recognize that we need to belong to ourselves as much as we belong to each other. That we don't try and change other people for who they are. We celebrate them because they are different than who we are. And we get to be more of who we are. Yeah. She has this, I'm a huge Brene Brown fan, if you didn't know that. I've read all of her books, and I've read her most recent book, The Atlas of the Heart, and she has this whole thing about there's a difference between fitting in and belonging. Fitting in is to be a part of, but at the cost of your own freedom, authenticity, or power. But belonging is where you get to be fully authentic, free, and powerful. Yeah. And that's what we get to create for each other. That's where we get to be the place where that shows up. I was reading a book. It was like the 100 stories of belonging for people in the California Bay Area. And I don't know, some of you may not know, but 4 years ago I moved from the California Bay Area. And this woman named Sasha Graham, she wrote this very short story of belonging. She says, I'm a Black woman, a Richmond native, divorced, mother of one, and a first-generation college student at UC Berkeley. My pronoun is she, her, and queen. I have a tattoo that tells you where I'm from. Most people see it as an invitation to a gang. She said, but that's not what it is. It tells you who I am and who I belong to. It has my family name, who my family is. But people don't see it that way. She says, belonging includes getting to know your neighbor, turning off the TV, refusing to believe in the destructive narratives that are out there meant to create divisiveness. Take a chance and engage in activities with others that don't look like you. Don't be afraid to grow and realize that none of us are all-knowing. None of us. We have to communicate and believe in the best in people. Know that all of us hold implicit and explicit biases. So accept your weaknesses and be willing to do the work to help us all feel like we can belong. I love that. Have you ever had somebody make an assumption about your tattoo? Or maybe about the hair that you have? Or maybe about the clothes that you're wearing or the people you're hanging out with? And they make a judgment because of what they think about you without even knowing you. So what if we can be the community where we let all the judgments fall away and we actually take the time to get to know each other? What if we actually take the time to invite somebody out to coffee who's different than us? Different age, different ethnicity, different sexual orientation, and find out a little bit more about who they are. What would it be like if somebody in this room came for the first time and somebody else drew them in instead of drawing them out? I want to be in that community. That's the community I want to create. That's where I want to belong in, right? So it means that we have each a meaningful voice, and we all get an opportunity to participate by giving our gifts and our service. It means that we have to give first, though. Did you know that you have to give first in order to receive something? You know, people are like, oh, I want friends. Well, you know, how do you create friends? You have to be a friend first. I want to have love in my life. Well, you have to be loving first. You know, I want to have abundance. Well, you have to share your abundance first. So we need to choose to be that first. We need to be that community for each other. We need to be the one who reaches out, who gets out of our comfort zone in order to create those bridges, those connections, those realizations with each other. So what I want you to do is I want you to put your hands in the namaste pose, and I want you to say to 3 people around you, you belong here. And I'm going to say it to those people online, all right? You belong here. You belong here. You belong here. I love this. Oh, everybody's really into it for those of you who are online. They're like, I'm doing 10 people. I'm going to just, you belong here, you belong here, you belong here, you belong here, you belong here over there, you belong here. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. You all belong here. So I'm going to give you a special invitation for those of you who are here in person. I have these little connecting cards downstairs on the table. So go downstairs after service and ask people a question. Ask them a question. And for those of you who are online, you know what would be really cool? Share a cool fact about yourself. What's one thing that you can share for us to get to know you a little bit better? We have people who are watching they're in Michigan, they're in Mexico, they're in Canada. We have people from all over the place. We want to get to know you too. You know, just because you're online doesn't mean you aren't a part of us. You're all a part of us. This is a huge community. Yeah. So the last thing I want to recommend is that assume that everyone is an ally and for you to consciously be an ally for others. See, we all have different experiences. We have different points of view. We have different religious backgrounds. In this room, we have Muslims and Christians and Buddhists. We have people who are Jewish and atheist. We have people who are male and female and transgender and non-binary, and people who are multi-gendered. We have people of all types who are in this place. So what if we took the opportunity to really be that ally for others and to see others as our ally? You know, I think it's great. There's a minister, one of my favorite ministers. His name is Jim Lockhart. He's in France right now. He says, you know, there is the right wing, and then there's the left wing. We have both here. And, you know, it's all part of the same bird. You take either wing away, the bird can't fly. So, in order to be this type of community where everybody belongs, we have to be willing to see each person here as an individual contributor to our own growth and expansion. Even the people, or especially the people, who are different than you or believe different than you. Because God is that ever-evolving experience. It is evolving each of us to our greater good, and it places people in our lives for us to experience that greater good. So imagine that every person before you is here for your greatest good. There's a woman her name is Daphne Scott, and she's a manager at Athletico. And early in her career, she received an email from one of the higher-ups, right, after a meeting. And he had said, you're talking way too much. You're talking way too much. As a matter of fact, everybody is making bets on how many comments you're going to make during the meeting. And so she gets this email, and she's devastated. She's like, ouch, that hurt. And she thought, what a jerk. He's only thinking of himself. He's, just insulting me and doing all these things. And then this was actually from the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And this is one of the recommendations. Assume that everybody's your ally. So she noticed that she was going through this process of being really triggered and hurt by this email. And she decided to have him be an ally for her. She said, you know what? What if he's being my ally? What if this is for my best good? And so after she processed through her emotions, she invited him out to lunch. And whenever she had lunch, she said, I'm curious about what this is. I'm curious is a very powerful saying, by the way. I'm curious. Tell me more about this. And he indeed saw her as a leader in the company. He wanted her to be one of the top leaders in the company with him. And she was a new manager. And he said, I noticed that you're talking a lot, but you're not listening. And it's good to speak your opinion. However, we also need to make sure everybody has a voice. And it would have been a different story if she'd come into that meeting assuming that he was there to take her down. But she went in that assuming that he was her ally. So what if we could do that for each other? What if we could say, this person who's saying something that I'm triggered by is actually my ally? That I'm here to understand them better, that they are here for my growth and my revelation. How would the world be different if we all did that?
Amen.
Yeah. And not only that, what if we consciously choose to be other people's allies who are different than us? So I have a little story. I just want you to know that I'm a super geek. When my wife met me, I had like fluorescent pink hair, and I was dressed like really hot, and like today, yes. No. I think I was more in the bustier though, but anyway, So she said, you were like the coolest person. I thought you would never talk to me and stuff. And then like a couple years later, she's like, if I had known you were such a geek, I would have gone after you way sooner. I was like, I know. So I'm a super Trekkie geek, just so you know. I'm watching, I've watched already, of course, Strange New Worlds. And there's this episode called Spock Amok. And I'm going to do a little spoilers if you haven't watched it. I don't know why you haven't watched it yet, but anyway. So in this, Captain Pike, who's the captain of the Enterprise, they have the Federation is trying to bring a new alien species into their midst, right? And they kind of have like a key trading area. Their planet is a key trading planet, and they want to bring them into the Federation. They're called the Rangovians. And there was a group of people, another alien species, who had tried to make a partnership, the Tellurides, with the Rangovians. And what happened is the Tellurides got really mad, and they started yelling at the Rangovians, and the Rangovians like yelled at them, and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to match this. And then, Captain Pike comes in, and he starts talking with them, and he's very calm and peaceful, and they're very calm and peaceful and everything with him. And he says, we are a democracy in this federation. Like, everybody has a voice. Everybody's voice is important. And they say, well, we don't know about that. How are we even going to trust you? And they said, what we do is we use empathy. We try and get people at a deep level. And he says, well, would you like to do this treaty with each other? And they're like, nope, don't want to do it. So then they meet with somebody else, and they still say no. And then Captain Pike sees something. He says, these people were really argumentative. And then the Rangovians were very argumentative. And then we were very peaceful, and they were very peaceful. And so he has an idea. So the very last opportunity where he's supposed to convince them to join the Federation with everybody is he goes to them, and at the negotiation table they say, well, what do you have to say? And he says, you know what? I don't think you should join us. And they lead in. And he said, well, you know what? Honestly, it's not much of an advantage for you. Like, you already have all these trades going on. Like, what are we going to be for you? We're the one who needs all these trade routes. We're the one who need what you have, but we don't have much to give you except a voice in with all of us. And honestly, it seems like we're getting the better deal. And then the Rangovians don't say anything at all. They stand up and they leave the room. And then they go back to their ship and they fly the flag of the Federation. And it's like he heard them. He heard what was going on with them and he reflected it back at them. Right? Yeah. He listened. So what if we could be a space of listening to be other people's ally? What if we could be a place where we recognize that maybe we don't have that, like maybe our place is to be the place of support, to be the place of upliftment for somebody else, to really hear and reflect back to them what's going on in their world. I imagine things would start shifting for all of us. So consider that all people are here to support the discovery of your truest nature, that each and every person is placed here to be the representation of God's highest good for you. And imagine what your world would be like, of our world, of what our community would be like if we all took that approach. So remember, it's our opportunity to listen, to understand the other person's perspective. So the three things that I recommend for you today is, one, know yourself. Know that you belong to Spirit, and that wherever you are the individualized expression of Spirit, so no matter what, you already belong. And I wonder, how are you going to reconnect with your source every day so you can remember that? The second thing is, let us create belonging with each other. We are co-creators in this reality. Are you willing to take the courageous step and be that welcoming person for somebody else? Are you willing to take the first steps of you being the place where the community shows up? And the third thing is, assume that everyone is an ally and consciously be an ally for others. Are you willing to see each person as an individual contributor to your own highest good? And are you willing to be a contribution to everybody else's highest good? If you can say yes to all those things, I have a feeling a little magic is going to be happening here. Yes. So let us say yes, right? Yes. Let us be that contribution. Let us know that something happened today within us. Something has shifted as a result, that we see with those eyes today where we could recognize and know, I see you. I see you. I see you. You are a part of me. We are a part of we. And so it is, right? Let's pray. And I want to just take a moment to reflect. We've had a few community members who've passed from this physical plane. They are here. They are our ancestors now, right? And actually, this particular community has 100 years of history of ancestors. And so I want to pull them and invite their energy into the room, which they're already here, but I want to speak their names. I want to acknowledge Timothy Ross, Colt DeWolf, Darlene Thorson, and Barbara Collins. And I want you to speak some more names of people that you know who have passed on. They've left their mortal form, and they're here in our community. They're the shoulders who we stand upon. If you could speak their names out loud right now, so we can also honor them. Netta Holmes. And so as we call forth all these names, I recognize and know that something sacred is happening here. some feeling of community that is a felt, tangible sense, where we know that we are the representation of spirit and form, that each and every one of us are a part of that co-creative life experience, where I know that I am the place where God shows up to be that love, to be that place of listening, to be that place of being, to be that place of embracing all the God and goddess and divine essence and energy that I see in front of me as humanity. That we are here to see and be that upliftment. I know and claim that each and every one of us lift each other up, that we are here to be a place where we are a contribution to each other's life, where we get to shine our own light and authentically be ourselves, and we celebrate each other because we're a team. We're a harmony. We're a revelation. We're an orchestration that is happening in the body of spirit right now. And so I just know and claim that this sacred revealing provides a healing within us. That this is a way that I get to see and be and feel free to be me and feel free to see the you in the we. And so I recognize this truth and I claim it, I know it, I accept it, I am it, I embrace it, I feel it, I have gratitude for it, and I celebrate it, I uplift it, because we are the eagle soaring. All pieces, all parts, both wings, the body of the infinite one, soaring in this beautiful thing that we call life. It is a good life. It is a God life. And it is our life right now. And so it is.